we're attracting a younger group of people, people in their 20s and 30s, which we've not really had before.
So episode 5.
Episode 5, welcome. Thank you for joining us for episode 5 today.
We've got something a little bit different for you today.
Yeah.
So this is an opportunity for us to be able to kind of open up our podcasts to people who may not live as locally. So we've got someone joining us virtually today. And actually we've got another hub.
We do.
So a hub similar to what we do, and you've kind of hear us talk about, but yeah, we've got another hub. So we've got the East Midlands joining us today. So we've got Katie. So yeah, welcome, Katie.
Thank you for having me. So I'm the team manager for Foster for East Midlands. So although we're called Foster for East Midlands, it's only 4 local authorities, so much smaller than your hub. Small but perfectly formed, we like to say. So we cover Derby City, Derbyshire, Nottingham City and Nottinghamshire. So 4 quite different looking local authorities in terms of demographics, sort of type of area, cities, very rural areas, peaks in the middle of it all. So yeah, that's us in East Midlands.
Yeah, so you've got a really kind of broad kind of variety. It is very... But in a way, it's also really similar to us because, we've got kind of, the Exmoors, the Dartmoors, the coasts.
Yeah, the Isles are silly. Yeah.
But But I think that's the special thing about the hubs is that they are so unique and different. And it's about celebrating each of the local authorities individually.
We've noticed in East Midlands, we've really started to, and we look at the demographics of the people who are inquiring and applying with us, even having those really early contacts with us. We're attracting a younger group of people, people in their 20s and 30s, which we've not really had before. So there's something about the way that we're marketing and the way the messaging is coming across and the channels that we're using that we've never had the option to try before. That means that we're attracting younger people, and I think that's really brilliant because absolutely, or foster carers from all ages have something to offer, but our younger foster carers, we know that they will likely stay with us and foster for a long time. So that's brilliant because they'll just keep increasing in skill and knowledge, and the children that perhaps can stay with them can stay for longer time periods if that works for them. So although we want foster carers from all ages, there's no upper ages that are fostering, as I often say to people when they meet me and say, no, not for me, not for me, Duck, they say in the middle, it's not for me, Duck. And I say, no, there's no upper age for fostering. But the fact that we can get attract younger people now as well, is really brilliant. And it brings something fresh as well, doesn't it, into your fostering community, and people come in with different skills and different experiences and different bits of, knowledge that changes over time. So that's been a really interesting outcome that we hadn't predicted when we started this journey, which has been really good.
Absolutely. And we've seen exactly the same. And 100%. I do wonder if it's seen across other hubs. But I think, like you talked about, we've been able to kind of try new avenues, new arenas, and things that individually local authorities may not have the resources to do. By combining those resources, our average age of inquirer has gone from 55 to 40.
Brilliant.
In less than a year. So I do wonder if that, use of kind of sharing of resources, if you're seeing that as well in your hub, that's something that could be kind of really successful.
Well, even doing this is an example, isn't it? Of how, it just seems silly now when I look back and think that we were all working so separately as local authorities, all in competition with each other, competing for people on exactly the same street, going to the same events. And now we can do it together and help each other as well. Share, what do you do about this? Or we've tried this. Oh yeah, that's a really good tool. Even working with the 4 managers from the 4 areas that we cover, we meet every week to talk about the applications coming through, to talk about the themes, is there anything that we need to change? Another great thing of a pilot is you can change things as you go along if it's not working. Anything that we can do better, maybe something that's not working, and we can have those discussions in those meetings, but also share those. The other day someone said, I've got a tool that we use for thinking about this. Right, great, send it round. But also support each other, which is really great because, fostering recruitment is such a unique niche little world, isn't it? That sometimes I used to find it could feel like quite a lonely place. I've worked in fostering recruitment for a long time, over 10 years, I think. And it can feel quite lonely at times, I think. So the fact that now we can work really closely with our colleagues who are doing pretty much exactly the same thing, just, 20 miles down the road, is absolutely brilliant. It's had so many unintended positive consequences that we didn't expect at the beginning. That's been the lovely part of it.
Absolutely. Like, I was at an event on Saturday with one of our local authorities, and we were talking about how they don't feel as isolated or kind of on their own. And one of the things you mentioned about events and the kind of competition that was naturally there, actually what we're seeing is we've got local authorities joining together now for the events that maybe there may have been some competition with or not as cohesively working together.
Yes.
And now we see them kind of attending the same events, working on the same kind of stall, talking to all people that kind of might come through. But it's the conversations I was having on Saturday.
And similarly for foster carers as well. We've seen sort of some councils, they have offers to their foster carers, and they've shared that actually, why not? Why can't we open this up regionally? So actually there was a fostering day out in, I think it was last autumn, and that was open up to one of the local councils. They shared it with us, they spoke to the event organisers and opened up to everyone else. And it was lovely to see foster carers from like North Somerset come down and make long weekends of it. Chatting to foster carers from Devon and Mockingbird hubs, getting together and sort of sharing some best practices and having those really informal conversations where they don't have the fear of like everything else or social workers or anything else being looked at, but they can share what they know from their area. So actually, I could try that. Why not? We could try these different things. Yeah. And I think those unintentional benefits of the hubs have been so important.
We held during Fostering Fortnight to celebrate all of our foster carers and to say thank you. We tried to find a central point, which is more or less possible in our area, perhaps a bit more difficult in your area.
We're only jealous. It's fine.
Yeah, we're only jealous. Yeah, thanks.
We found a park that was as central as it could be, where there's a great big event field that we could hire. And because the four of us working together, we had the resources to be able to pull it together, which we hadn't had to do. We'd tried things before, but never on this scale. And I think we had about 350 fostering families all come together from the 4 different areas, and all their kids as well, which is absolutely brilliant. And we're able, the lovely thing, and I think the thing that can be tricky, is we were able to create a really safe space for the children, so foster carers could relax and not have to worry, about where the kids are or who's around. We were able to get lots of local services to come in. We had one of the youth services come in and run sports. We had a kickboxing demonstration. We had dancers. We had a photo booth. We had craft stalls, all run by sort of staff and local people. We had an enormous tug of war. There was lots of risk assessments done.
Love it.
But it was really lovely to see the foster carers from all 4 areas coming together, and that's probably one of the reasons I do this job. I get such a buzz from events like that, and seeing them all coming together and seeing the kids, the children from the fostering families who, the children of the foster carers, but also the children who were fostered, just all coming together and just having such a fun, relaxed day out. We just had to make sure there was plenty of sunscreen available because it was such a sunny day. We had a dog show, but sadly only a couple of dogs dressed up, one of which was mine. I couldn't give my dog the best dressed prize.
No favouritism here. That's fine.
Blanche won the best dressed dog competition.
Oh, well done, Blanche. I like that.
But no, we'd never had the the opportunity to do things like that before. So it's really lovely.
And that's it, isn't it? Yes, we're kind of coming together as local authorities to find homes, loving homes for children who need them. But it's also the children who are already looked after and within foster families, and we're helping for them to kind of grow and understand or kind of recognise that there are other children as well who are also looked after, and creating I guess a little bit of a norm for them, but also for foster carers and the support and the sharing of practice within fostering services. The hubs are having like a really wide reach within all of fostering and children looked after. And I think it's that working together, isn't it? It's something that we've done for years and years. But now we've just expanded that, and we're just working much more closely together.
And we can drive more change that way as well. I think with the involvement we have and the reach we have, actually the opportunities to make a difference are much more there than some of the local silos. In terms of our partnership work, we've been able to go to big organisations and say, look, we'd love to do something with you. This is our regional area. What can you do to support us? And they go, absolutely, this is what we can do. This is how we can help. Yeah. So, for example, Pure Gyms during Foster Care Fortnight and Mood Bears have done tons as a region to help us, and then we can spread that then nationally. But when you go to them with maybe a small geographic reach of one local council, actually it's a little different. Yes. So then you can start reaching out and providing those opportunities for authorities and fostering households to have a lot more.
When I meet somebody, whether it's a member of the public or a professional or, a foster carer or, somebody in a business, and they say, Foster East Midlands, I see your symbol everywhere. We've got a house symbol with a heart.
Yes. You love it when
I'm like, that's music to my ears.
Love it.
Where did you see it?
Yeah, we need the stats. Please tell us.
Yeah. I was driving the other day. I was driving behind a bus, and I was like, I know that. It's one of our adverts. We were on the back of the bus, and I was like, yes, I've finally seen one.
Did you check it? Was it all okay? Did it work?
It worked.
Perfect.
Yeah,
all
perfect.
Yeah.
No spelling errors. So one of our councils already ran an LGBT plus support group or was just in the early stages of pulling together an LGBT support group to get like-minded foster carers together, to support each other, to share information, and also to support any children that might be in those fostering homes who may be exploring their identity or their sexuality. So really positive. But, one local authority on their own perhaps couldn't draw as many people. So then we opened it out to the 4 local authorities and also made it a virtual group now to make it more accessible. And how brilliant that, foster care from those 4 local authorities can come together and just share that support. And I always think it's great to get foster carers together who have had similar experiences or, of just some values to share with each other that perhaps another foster carer might not understand. Or that another foster carer can learn from. And that's been really good because as 4 local authorities, we've been able to, we're starting to build a group that's more sustainable and will be more interesting. Like I say, you can be talking to people who are across the road from each other, but foster for 2 different local authorities who can now access that support together. It just makes so much more sense, doesn't it?
Absolutely. If we go back to one of our podcasts, I think it might have been like episode 2, where we started to talk more about kind of creating a village and creating your support network. And it literally starts right from the beginning. And I think that's what hubs are able to do is create an even bigger network and an even bigger village for the support for the foster carers, support for the children and for social work practice. But also being so unique, like our hubs are very different from each other.
Yes.
Because we've both responded to what is needed in our area. Whether that's demographically, whether that's kind of through geography, whatever that might be. So they look really different, but I guess at the core is exactly the same. We're just trying to find kind of stable, family, loving homes for children who need them and need them for as long as they do. But yeah, it's amazing how we can all start with the same, I guess, the same brief. Yeah. And then we've created something so very different, but so unique and needed for the area. Like how... And it is... Sorry, go on.
It is great. It is great that we can... So in our area, because you can drive, across our region. I think top to bottom, it's probably about an hour and a half, an hour and 3/4 maybe. But that opened up opportunities of what we could do in terms of including the initial visits as part of our pathway of what we could offer to local authorities. And that's been really positive. And then when more hubs have now been thinking about initial visits, we've been able to say, oh well, this is what we found, this is what we learned, maybe think about this, or actually this didn't work but this worked really well. And then there's other hubs that have done things in a way that we can learn from, things that we hadn't considered before. We were quite lucky in our 4 local authorities that some things we were already doing together, like Skills to Foster, we were already offering that together because it just made so much more sense resource wise in terms of what we could offer. So those pathways had already been made, as it were, those relationships already built, which was brilliant because we could then build on them. But there's always some things that are, we meet regularly as hubs, don't we?
Yes.
There's always something that one hub is doing that you can think, oh, I'm going to take that away and never think about that.
I love those ideas. Ian usually gets a call or an email afterwards going, right, so we were just on with the other hub leaders, and what I want us to start looking at is...
We love a research project. Borrow with pride. It's fine. Yeah. Perfect.
Borrow with pride. I like that. Oh, so what... tell me a little bit more kind of about your kind of recruitment officers and kind of your team and, kind of what it is that they do.
So we were really lucky when we were sort of forming the hub in the very early days to be able to bring everybody to one place, which has worked really well. So I have 6 recruitment officers on the team, and 4 of those were already the recruitment officers in each of their local authorities. So we all work together in one little bank of desks. Because they all know their local authority, they were all able to bring their local knowledge with them, which was really good because, I was working in Derby City before, so I knew Derby City really well. But, Nottinghamshire, for example, I wouldn't have known where's a really good place for an event in Nottinghamshire, for example. So I've always now got my A to Z with me on the desk. So I can look where, I like to do it old school and look where, right, well, that works well compared to, well, that's just off the M1. So we can think about, how accessible is that for this group of people? I'm famous for my A to Z. But yeah, I've got 4 recruitment officers that came from each of their local authorities with their own local knowledge, and also to keep those links with those local teams. And then we hired 2 brand new ones who came with their own set of skills, but also have been able to pick up the role from the other recruitment officers really quickly because they had just, tens of years of experience in fostering recruitment. They were all really happy because, they'd sometimes felt quite lonely before. Now they had a team around them, and it meant that if they took time off, there was somebody they could pass tasks to. They really enjoyed being able to learn from each other. And then I've got 2 social workers on the hub, and they do all the initial visits, which just adds a bit of social work perspective at that very early stage. To try and make sure the right people are progressing through the process, and that we don't want to waste anybody's time if we think there's going to be something that's going to mean that they can't foster. Although we do take a very strengths-based approach and really think, right, what is the potential in this family? What is the potential in this household? People write themselves off, don't they, from fostering before they've even thought about it. And we say, no, just come and speak to us. We've got 6 people here who've got very specialist knowledge. We've got 2 experienced social workers who've both come from the fostering world, who can come out and speak to you about fostering and actually the reality and what that would mean for you and your family, your circumstances. And then also part of our hub, we have our marketing colleagues who have also already had prior experience of fostering. So again, that was brilliant because they could hit the ground running. So on that first day when we went live, the phone lines were set up, the website was set up, the social media page was set up.
Remember it well.
Okay, the day dot, what's going to happen? And so we sort of worried. We sort of sat there just waiting for a phone to ring, and no, it just straight away things started coming in, and because people had experience, we were really able to pick it up very, very quickly. And obviously we've made changes along the way. Some things didn't work as well as we'd planned. Other things we felt we could develop. Other things we hadn't thought of, we've developed over time as we've realised, actually that would work really well for this. So the recruitment officers handle those very early contacts, whichever way they come in, through social media or website or phone or face-to-face. They do all the face-to-face events. And because there's quite a few of them, we're able to really, spread across lots of different events. So last weekend, we were able to cover 2 different events on the same day, which we wouldn't have been able to cover before. So we did Derbyshire Country Show and then also a children's festival in Nottingham City. So we're able to get teams to both of those events. And especially now it's summer and summer events start building up, Pride, different children's festivals. We can really get out there and spread awareness and, keep building people's knowledge.
Having that presence in the community is really important, isn't it? It might be people aren't ready to foster now, but in the future, I had a number of talks with people on Saturday at the Cotswold show when we were with Gloucestershire. And they said, you know, for us, I'm just waiting till my little ones go to primary school, and then I think that then I'm ready to take that step. So just having that presence in the community and kind of working together is really important. Like I say, the summer months are often our busiest months.
Definitely. And you start to break down those barriers, don't you, with people? They might see sort of those blockers, they think local council, or actually having the hubs is a nice little intro way that actually you can start talking about the benefits of that local council side of things, but actually then talk about it from that regional perspective. So, for example, at Cotswoldshire, you might have had, traditionally, Gloucestershire may have been there, but people might have travelled in from other areas and they might not have found it appropriate to then have those conversations. But actually, we can have those regional understandings, which is brilliant.
We've been invited to a few events with the Polish community in Nottingham City and Derby City, and that's been really brilliant, because they actually met one of my recruitment officers at an event and said, oh, actually, I think my community would really benefit from learning more about this. And they were really passionate about keeping, you know, if a Polish child comes into care, being able to provide a Polish fostering household where the traditions and the identity can really be maintained really positively. So we've done a few events with the Polish community. I'm very lucky on my team that I have somebody that speaks Polish.
Nice.
So that's been really brilliant, because we've been able to just break down a few barriers. We also have again, very luckily, a Polish set of foster carers for one of our local authorities. So they've gone along, my team have gone along, and it really has just been about, okay, this is what fostering is. This is what you need to be a foster carer. Actually, could you think about it? Is it something that you could think about? And just really helping people who perhaps haven't always had, you know, the knowledge of what fostering is. You know, we always start our events now with saying, right, this is fostering, because if you turn on the TV, you don't always get a very representative view of.
Of course.
I think on one soap opera they said, yes, we're thinking about being foster carers, and then the next day there was a social worker on the door with a child. And my mum rang me and said, it just surely takes a bit longer than that. I said, yeah, don't worry, Mum, it does take longer than that. You're just really helping people understand what fostering is. It's just breaking down those myths, isn't it? A lot of our work is about breaking down myths, as I'm sure a lot of your work is as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think you also touched on something there about going out and speaking to people, and the outcome of kind of part of our research is understanding that when people want to learn about kind of fostering or have those conversations, people want to do that kind of face to face directly kind of with people, whether that's an in-person event or kind of on the phone. And whilst we do have a lot of inquiries that come through via kind of online searches and things, the importance of that human connection, because that is what fostering is. It's creating creating connections. That actually that's kind of what's really important. But I love that work that you're doing kind of with kind of Polish families, and helping to find families for every child that matches their identity or their ethnicity as closely as possible.
That's part of the challenge, isn't it? That, you know, this whole project, it's not just about getting more foster carers. I mean, absolutely, we need more foster carers, don't we? But it's also getting a wider variety of foster carers, so that we can match children in foster homes where their needs can, you know, I mean, every foster carer can meet a child's needs, can't they? That's part of the assessment. But where their individual needs can be really, really specially met, you know, whether that's a particular emotional need, whether it's a physical need, whether it's a cultural need, it's all those elements are really, really important, aren't they? And the wider variety of foster carers we can get, the better we can, when we're making those phone calls trying to find a home for a child, within our local authorities, we can better meet those needs without having to use, private fostering agencies. We can use them within our own fostering community where we know our foster carers and can keep that really good level of communication up, keep children closer to what's important to them. When children come into care, they lose so much, don't they? All in one sweep. If we can maintain their schools, really importantly, their brownie group is always is always the one back to, their gymnastics club, their swimming lessons, their little best friend who lives on the corner. The more we can maintain those things that are, I think you only realise how important those things are to you when they're taken away from you. even your accent. I didn't grow up in the East Midlands. I grew up in Lancashire. And when I hear somebody with a Lancashire accent, oh my goodness, it makes my heart warm. And I think it's stuff like that that's really important for our foster children, isn't it? To hear their accents even represented in the people around them helps them make them feel more at home.
Definitely.
So the bigger pool of foster care we can build, and the more variety and diversity we can build in that group, the better.
And it will improve outcomes for everyone, won't it? At the end of the day, foster carers, children, young people, 100%. Anything we can do like that is only going to improve outcomes via all those methods, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So what's next for your hub?
Well, keep on recruiting more foster carers.
Love it.
Fingers crossed. We're evolving all the time to think about how we can do things better. Podcasts maybe is the next step for our hub. It's something that we're thinking about.
I know a fantastic producer somewhere in this room.
Yeah.
You might be able to.
Yeah, a really good guy. We're thinking about how we can make the journey because part of the government's aim, wasn't it, was to create one central hub for each area to make the journey for people inquiring about fostering more seamless. So anything that we can do to increase that feeling of being held and being support, the better. So we're always thinking about how can we make this process more seamless for a person. So we're looking at whether we can have, could we have more of a role in the assessment? Could we make that, because the applications come back to us on the hub and then we pass them to the chosen local authority for that person. They can still foster for any of our local authorities, but it comes through us and we sort of transfer it to local authority. And that anytime you do that little bit of transfer is a moment where it feels a little bit different for that person that's going through that process, because they've spoken to the recruitment officer, they've built that relationship, they've spoken to the social worker and probably revealed quite a bit about them that's quite personal to them, quite sensitive, and then we have to pass them on to a brand new person. Obviously we transfer all that information, but it's about helping that feel as seamless as we can for that family. So all the time we're thinking about ways of helping that process, because we know that's people really invest everything into this process, don't they? They need to feel safe and they need to feel valued, and they need to feel like they've had a really good service. And so that's what we're always thinking about.
And that transition for kind of people thinking about fostering is important, like all transitions for children who are looked after, but for foster carers, but just transitions in life is really important. And I think it's something that we're currently looking at as well as our transitions from our recruitment officers over to the local authority. And being able to have kind of some crossover so that they're still supported by maybe the people that they have kind of already spoken to and shared part of their story with, and helping to build that new relationship with the next team that they're moving on to. Because I think, support with that transition is really important.
And it goes back to our connection piece, doesn't it, in terms from the research, actually, in the Southwest especially, when we looked at it from a national perspective, that connection between individuals, be it like electronically, face-to-face, anything they can do to sort of be there and support, it keeps that consistent figure that they're able to go back to if you've got a question or a concern as well, which is so important.
And people do, it's really nice when we get, an email back from somebody saying, just to let you know, I got approved as foster care last week. And thank you for, holding our hand in the first part of this journey. We felt really welcomed. We felt really valued. We felt that we were able to talk about really tricky things with your team. And they remember all the names, which is really, really nice. I'm really lucky to have people on my team who are the most friendly and welcoming bunch. So you get such a lovely response when you speak to them. It really is lovely to be in the office because everyone is just so friendly with each other. And I hear the phone calls they're having with people, and I can hear the way they're responding to people's queries, and they're always so positive and open. And yes, not everyone's going to be able to foster. We know that. There are some things that can mean actually it's not right for your family. Maybe not at that time, but maybe in the future. And they're also able to explore those things really well. So even if a person, does find out that fostering isn't for them, they've still had a good experience, which I think is really, really important, because, fostering might not have been right for them, but it might have been right for somebody else that they know. And if they've had a good experience, they'll say, well, perhaps maybe talk to Foster East Midlands.
Yes.
Because actually the team are really lovely. And that's, like I say, like I've said before, that's music to my ears, because I know then that we're doing a good job. And we're also looking as four local authorities about other things we can do together, like training. Can we do more of our training together?
Yes.
Because we each all offer little pockets of training, that some of which is really quite specialist. But actually, would it make more sense for us to run it for a slightly bigger group and include more people? Because there's such a wide variety of training out there, isn't there? And also each local authority has its own skills within that local authority that they can
share resources,
with each
best
other.
practice and resources. Yeah, so important, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the same things that we're kind of looking at is looking at, sharing resources for training for foster carers, training for social workers, really kind of looking at that kind of trauma-informed approach across the region, so that we can, I guess, have some consistency across the region, but also recognizing everybody kind of different and individual, but also kind of helping to be part of that kind of journey right the way through, from the first time that all our amazing recruitment officers are kind of speaking to families, right the way through to those celebrations when families are kind of going through approval. I think one of the things that we're kind of also looking at as hubs, we're kind of taken a regional approach, haven't we, to thinking about our communications and our marketing. Well, one of the things that we've kind of picked up on is about actually the individuality of each local authority.
Yes.
So we're kind of moving forward with a project for us in that we're going to be kind of continuing to work regionally, but then also celebrating the individuality of each local authority, aren't we?
Yeah, definitely. So it will just give the opportunity for local councils to come to new areas that maybe they haven't had the chance to before, for us to support them on that journey, maybe bring some different knowledge to different areas, actually open up potentially where can we take fostering Southwest in a locality that it's not been before, and actually start ticking some of those boxes you sort of talk about with like some of the community groups. That's a really big passion of mine for my previous role in policing, and it's actually how can we support local councils to do similar like that in their local area with our presence as well, so that we can start actually, when you come to these local levels, it's not, oh, there's, for example, Devon, and over here is fostering Southwest. It's kind of just showing that seamless approach to it all, and actually we are supporting each other and working together on that. So that's a project I know we're both very excited for, but also the local councils. I've had emails from some members of the team being like, right, we're ready to get going, we know what we want to do, let's do it, we can't wait. So that's really good. So that's something we're quite excited for.
So all of our information that we share, isn't it, is aimed at people who we want to become foster carers. Is there any information she can build aimed at the children in those families?
I've got something.
You've already done this, haven't you?
No, I've got something we can share with you.
Yes, we
Absolutely.
do. Yeah. So Gloucestershire's Kids and Kids campaign is honestly, they presented it to us, I think, back end of last year. And I think as a region, that's something we're looking at really sort of getting involved and supporting for that exact reason, because it is so important, and it's actually a bit of a missed market of support. People forget it's a fostering household. It's not a fostering person. There's so much to
foster as a family, don't you?
Whatever
your family looks like, you foster as a family. Grandparents are involved, aren't they, if they're around?
Exactly.
Next door neighbours are involved.
Best friends.
Pets are involved.
Pets, definitely. Definitely. But it was such a really lovely piece of work.
It is,
And as a region, that's sort of one of the projects we're looking to get involved and support. And actually, how can we take that further? Because I know for Gloucestershire, they've seen massive success from it. And they've said that actually the kids have loved getting involved in it and taking part. And it's so important to offer things like that to everyone.
We'll speak to Gloucestershire, get permission, and see if we can share it with you, and I'll get it sent over to you, Katie.
Karen, if you're watching, you know the conversation's coming. So prepare yourself.
I mean, also, we're talking about whether we can do something with our councils that run with children in care.
Yes.
Because they know what they want.
They do.
In a fostering home. They know, even the first response you get on a doorstep when a foster carer opens a door, that moment is critical, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And if they can say, actually, if someone says this to us, or if someone does this makes us feel so much more at home. Even if it's making mashed potato fatigue, that's their favourite tea. That instantly makes a person feel at home. When I go out and do initial visits, and because I do them sometimes, and when my team go out and do initial visits, we always think about, how did you feel when you first walked into that home? Because that's how a child's going to feel. I mean, that's why I always say to people at the information events, don't worry if, we say, social worker will come out and see your home, and people instantly panic about,
it's not tidy enough, and
the laundry that's on the dining table, or I don't know, I don't know, something that needs replacing because it's a little bit worn. And I always think, if children need homes where they can feel relaxed and feel comfortable. If you walk into, we don't show homes as lovely as they are. We don't expect show homes, because you need a place where a child can feel comfortable and feel, if I feel like I can't spill my cup of tea on the floor, I am quite a clumsy person. How might a child feel who's just come through all that trauma before they arrive at your house? So the information that we can get from our young people is really, really important, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Whether they're care experienced or have grown up in fostering families.
And this isn't planned at all, but I think this is where our hubs are so unique, but they're also so similar, because literally we're about to do something really similar with our kind of care experienced young people, and a piece that we're hoping is going to travel around the Southwest, which is, obviously it's going to be guided by our young people, but kind of we're thinking along the lines of kind of letters that to the foster carer, to my first day, things that I would like you to have known, how you could welcome me on the first day. And I think, we've talked so much about our amazing recruitment officers, but without our care experienced young people, without our foster carers, they are what creates our kind of direction and what's needed. And they're vital to kind of how the hubs run and work. And I guess that's why they're so individual, but also have so many similarities. It's just absolutely vital to be listening to our foster carers, to our care experienced young people.
And I think there are some things that if you're not in the fostering world, you don't necessarily understand the importance of, say, life story work.
Yes.
For anyone outside of the fostering world or the children in care world, that probably, wouldn't perhaps mean anything.
No.
But, we know how important it is for someone to preserve children's memories,
Their
children's
stories.
first. If you're not with your family, who will do it for you. And so we know when we go out and meet people, we can help them understand, actually, this is why this is important. This is why photos are important. This is why, just making those logs every day, you took your first step today, or you got your first certificate in assembly today. We can use our information and what we know from children and from care experienced young people to help our potential foster carers understand why that's so important. Because, I have people that can tell me memories from my past, and even people that I can go back to and say, remember that holiday? How did we end up doing this? Or why did we do that? If you haven't got that, we take for granted that we've got that, don't we?
Yeah.
If you haven't got that, who's going to do that for you? And we can help people perhaps who also don't know why that's important, understand why it is important. And that's really where the value comes in, isn't it? Of speaking to our young people and our care experienced young adults. And there's so much more of a platform now, isn't there, in terms of social media, that I think all that information is so accessible, which is really brilliant.
Well, it sounds like there's some really exciting stuff coming, like over in the East Midlands, down over in Southwest, in fostering. I mean, it's been absolutely kind of fantastic, kind of speaking with you, Katie, learning kind of more about your hub. And, I know we work together in our kind of meetings anyway with our hub leads, but really finding out more about your hub. And I love how there's so many similarities, but also just the individuality and embracing that. So, it's been...
Thank you for having me.
No, I will have to have you back in 6 months' time or something, sort of end of the year, have a bit of a recap, see how these are going, how things are... What's changed?
This is my first ever podcast.
Oh, you did fantastic.
You smashed it,
Thank you for treating me so gently.
But it probably would be good to see where we are again in another year's time.
Really good.
How much they've kind of developed and progressed, and with all the feedback from young people and foster carers, it would be really interesting. So
we could all, the hubs could look so different again in 12 months' time, couldn't they, compared to where we were 12 months ago?
I think about where we were 12 months ago, and it was it's staggering, isn't it?
It was literally going back to like waiting for the first phone to ring and get the first email to where we all are now. And I just love the collaboration right away, kind of within each hub, across the hubs. And it's going to be really exciting for the next 12 months.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining us.
So we will see you on our next episode.
Yeah.
We have a recruitment officer joining us. So we have Annette joining us. We're also going to have a little bit of a special guest appearance from Abby. So
who we're very excited about. Yeah.
Really excited about Abby. So join us for the next episode. And thank you very much for being here today.
Yeah. Until then, see you next time.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.